Welcome to the reboot.
All right, we are live here on Urban Broadcast Media on the first episode of the reboot. I'm your host, Monique Wingard, and joining me here in the studio today, we have Stephen C. Philpott Sr. and Jimmy Odom.
Hey.
So they're going to be my co-hosts today while I go through here at the top of the hour a little bit of tech news. And later today, what I'm really excited about is the friendly discussion that they're going to have. That's what we'll call it, but it's a debate that I would like to call the Tech Crossfire. So they're going to be talking about cashless technology. And this is all based on my recent visit to the Amazon Go store. I loved it. It was convenient. But there are differing opinions out there about whether or not having so much artificial intelligence, but I don't mind that. So I believe you are against?
I'm totally against it.
Cashless technology. Jimmy is?
I'm for it.
Okay. So
I believe in the future.
I think it's
he
wrong.
believes in the future. So we will get into that during segment number 2. So we are coming into the second part of the show, which is called the Tech Crossfire. Before we go into that, I just want to remind everyone that you can call us at 312-754-4333, and you can listen in on urbanbroadcastmedia.com, either on the web or download the app in the App Store, the Apple App Store, or the Android app Google Play Store. Sorry, you can tell I'm an Apple person.
Right.
The Google Play
Store.
What is the Google Play Store?
Android.
I'm kidding. So, Tech Crossfire. Jimmy and Steve have differing opinions about cashless technology. Is it an asset or a detriment? So what's going to happen here?
Assets. No, I'm kidding.
What's going to
Wait,
happen
no,
here?
man.
Point one. No.
So again, just a reminder for anybody that is just tuning in, Jimmy is pro cashless technology. So think of, again, the Amazon Go store. Give me some more examples.
Rental cars.
Yeah. Biometric, face scanners.
Yes.
Whatever you need.
Yes.
We got it.
Having your
Device to
card
device.
on your phone and
Cash
scanning
app.
it. Cash app.
Cash
All
app.
of that.
Yep.
Are you for it or are you against it? And so Steve is against all
Totally
things.
against it.
All things.
I feel bad for him because there's no way you can
It's
win
a
this
tough-
argument.
it's
There's
a
no
tough
way you can win
argument.
this argument.
It's a tough argument.
Here we go. So you can already see this is going to be good, right? All right. So each person is going to get 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And I'm going to be watching. And Alvin back there too, he's going to help me. So 2 minutes, they both get opening statements to prove their point, or to, I should say, a support statement on their stance. And there's supposed to be a coin toss. I forgot about my coin toss. Does anybody still carry?
Why would you see? It's cashless. Why would we?
Oh,
Flip it on your phone. Flip it on your cash app. Flip the
Thank you.
cash app.
All
All right, there's going to be.
No way.
Heads or tails? Heads.
All right.
Heads it is.
Heads all day.
Oh, it's heads.
All right. And it's,
All right.
You're making my point. You're making my point already.
So you get to go first.
Okay.
You get to go
Are
first.
you going to defer?
I'm going to defer.
We're going to defer.
I'm going to defer. I get the choice. I'm going to defer.
I didn't think that we were going to, that one of you would not want to go
We're
first.
going to kick.
Are you good going first?
Am I going first?
Yeah, I think I get the choice.
Okay, so I'm going to. I'm not playing the race card, but I'm going to argue the standpoint from the black population, the black issue, the black concern. Because
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I just might know a black person.
I'm just starting my timer.
That
So,
can,
is this part of your
they can
2
look
minutes?
at you weird after this. So here's the point. Here's the point. So there's an old African proverb that says, when the elephant stands, it's the ants that get trampled upon, right? So this play to move into a cashless society is focused on a majority population. It's for the mainstream, if you will. And it is the people, the outliers, the people on the outskirts of the mainstream economy that are going to get trounced upon, because those systems don't consider the needs of those individuals, the lives, the quality of life that you can have just through purchasing power. And purchasing power, at the end of the day, is dictated by your profile, your cash holding profile. Cash is king. In a cashless society, those profiles can be dictated truly through bias. So Jimmy and I, a couple years ago, we were talking about Bitcoin being this perceived value, right? It's like art. Whatever I say, it is, someone else can kind of either counter that or raise it a bit more. With these digital profiles I call bubbles. So now you're going to the Amazon store and you buy something. Those things that you buy become part of your bubble, your profile. The next time you buy something, the frequency becomes part of your bubble. The amount you spend become part of your bubble. That creates the profile by which you are judged. Okay? Now in the past, black people have had issue walking in with cash because those profiles, the profile of the black person walking in with cash, can be judged right then and there. Today, that's not appropriate. We don't accept it. But tomorrow, we won't be able to deny a person. We won't have to deny a person up in front of his face. I can deny you because I see your digital profile walking before you.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
So I love.
Fight that, dude.
So I'm going to go against that, right? Like I think technology I view as a great liberator. It provides greater opportunity and access at a more equalized playing field. I think when I look at where you say that there's a lack of, the services and solutions of the underbanked, right, which typically are brown and black communities, I don't view that as a detriment. I view that as an opportunity, an economic opportunity. When I hear underbanked and the amount of underbanked, I'm an entrepreneur. I go, what can I build to solve those problems that those people experience, right? And I guess I'm wired that way. So a glass is half full as opposed to it's half empty. Technology is a locomotive that's attached to a jet rocket that's attached to a volcano, right? There's nothing that you can do to get in front of it to stop its flow. The best thing to do is to, like you would move with the river or an ocean or a stream, is to rock with it. I think that's one of the things that I would probably point out. But above all else, my main point is self-sovereignty. Never before is the opportunity for the individual to focus on ownership of self. Identity is my thing, and me having the ability to exclude those that I don't want to interact with and to have me taxed ineffectively and efficiently, money transfers or money changers, right? What did Jesus do inside of the temple? When he saw the money changers in the temple, he turned over the tables, right? Because those are the people that were preying on the individual, right? So self-sovereignty, I think, is what we're talking about. When we talk about cashless, it's about at the individual level. The transaction happens between the individual and the merchant.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. So I'm not actually going to, even though I very much so want to jump in on this.
You're moderating.
I'm moderating, so I have to reserve my judgment for later. So regarding public concern, so specifically, even though you both kind of touched on this in your opening statements, why specifically should the public be concerned or not concerned, depending on your side, about living in a cashless society? So would a specific population be negatively or positively impacted? So again, you both have already sort of touched on this, but like, can we clearly like think again, public concern? So be honest on both sides here. And I don't remember since you.
I guess can I go? Since he
I
started.
think you should. Yeah.
Since you started. I guess the first question I would ask is that.
Remember, 2 minutes.
All right. The first question I would ask is that how much cash do you have on you right now? Let's be brief.
Ooh.
How much money do you have on you right now?
Yeah, you asked
Right? Like
okay.
I don't have a penny. I don't have a dime.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I use my debit card.
Right.
And the more frequently I'm able to, I've been using Apple Pay.
Right.
Right? That's it.
Right.
My phone is with me. That is my cash.
Mm-hmm.
That is so. The cash is a unit of value, right? The value can be transmitted through any medium of exchange that is accepted by the receiver. Square Pay or Cash App or Venmo, PayPal. I'm gonna hit you where you got it.
Right.
And so the ability to carry pieces of paper that are finite. They can burn, they can tear, they can be rubbed. Like there's just so many problems with that. So if any society is going to focus on the negatives from moving to a technological age, which there can be redundancy, right? If I lose, I've lost hundreds of dollars. Like,
Oh, sure.
this one time I was on train, $600, like, gone. I was paying a bill. That's the only reason I had it, but I had to hit the bank before I went back to the burbs. But my point is, like, that was a loss. I took that. There was no redundancy. I went to the train conductor, like, yo, I'm pretty sure I left yeah, we don't know what that is. But there's no redundancy. And so the outcry, to me, is going to be based off of, politicization. People that want to instigate a conversation or a debate, probably because they want to get elected about some point. They want to have an issue that they stand on top of, not because of the merits of the concern, because I don't believe that there are stable merits. Because, again, how much cash do you have on you? I'd argue the entire building probably has less than 0.01% of their total liquidity. So meaning how much money you got in your bank is probably less than 0.1% that's in this building, right? Because no one carries cash.
This is true. This is very true. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. And on to Stephen.
So part of the argument that you hear from politicians against the cashless society is that, and I reference it more as the digital society. Once we go, everything else is connected: healthcare, transportation, your mobility. We know all of those things, but with that one unknown, that variable, which is the cash in your pocket, it doesn't create a clear picture of you. Once we do cash, that's kind of the full circle. And again, we go back to the ability to capture an entire profile of you. Even years ago, the banks put together something called the Basel Accord, which basically looked at the back-end transactions in a bank. So I can look at a bank and say, 10% of your people buy Coca-Cola, 10% of them buy this, that you've got a health problem with this population, you've got a drug problem, well, probably not a drug problem, but these people are spending in these ways. You have to increase the amount of capital you have because you have a risky population. You can also now do this with a cashless society, start to look at neighborhoods in the very same way. I can take a digital bubble for you and Jimmy and everyone else in the neighborhood and paint a picture of what type of neighborhood that is. That can now translate into the mortgage rate for that neighborhood because I can see, 50% of those people buy pork skins twice a month or whatever, and it's a health issue. The other side of it is that I do believe that these new systems that come on board can be of value to fringe populations, and certainly a third of the country, which is unbanked. But we have to be part of that discussion in developing those systems. Otherwise, we will be oppressed by them. Truly, even the banking systems that were to help the mainstream years ago have oppressed many people from getting just basic things in the quality of life because those systems were built to build a population that it does not consider. It's built on a population that it does consider, and the ones that aren't considered are the ones that get trounced upon. And that's a very dangerous thing when you have someone walk in with the dollar in his pocket to spend, but unable to acquire the things they want because they won't take that currency.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. So, again.
Got a quick question here for the panel.
Oh, good.
In regards to that last crossfire, and as far as the public is concerned, and especially with black-owned banks being what they are now.
You mean non-existent?
You mean two?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I just need clarification. That's all.
Yeah.
When we're looking at bringing black-owned financial institutions, let's call it what they are now, because we're bringing in traditional banks, credit unions, or other financial institutions that can help us pool resources. How does bringing that traditional sense of banking into the digital age?
Great question.
Now be able to bring people who still rely on institutions like currency exchanges to do their banking per se.
Great question. I think
Thank you for that question.
My first reaction would be you got to abandon your legacy mind state, right? Jesus said, "Who's it that would put new wine in an old wineskin?" And I think that's what tends to happen. People want to repeat because it's easier. It's more difficult to innovate and create the future, but it also says that people without a vision will perish. And so I think about not where we are today, where we live today. I look about where the world will be, and I go and build it, right? And so if you were to say, what's the current direction, is that people are moving away from mega banks, right? And I would argue that it's probably more attractive to the local community banks. That's more valuable. But you got to understand that the motivation by those that are creating a new bank is they want to be big. They want to try to grow it to become a Chase, as opposed to focusing on their local neighborhood. And I'd say that there's a greater value driven by local community banks, which they're non-existent right now. And so I think that would be the argument, right? Credit unions are probably the model that you want to approach. And so that's where an individual relationship where Candace knows Jake and Jake knows Tammy, and they'll be able to have a direct relationship, both lender and receiver, interest bearer and recipient. That's probably the model that you want, but as everybody wants to be the big kahuna, there's less room associated with that. And we know that there's all of the banking regulations that are intended, right, to create chasms for those that are startups to become large banks, right? It's not by happen chance that that's that many regulations required to hold the deposits, but yet we can't audit any of the bank's deposits. We don't know what you have. The Federal Reserve, we don't know how much money they do have or don't have.
Sure.
They've never been audited. So that would be my argument.
And I agree that it's a policy issue. If I'm closer to my customer, then the policies will reflect the needs of those
Correct.
customers. When I'm a large JP Morgan Chase,
No shade, but shade.
My fiscal policies and regulations are based on what I want, and you
100%.
rise to the occasion. That creates 1/3 unbanked population. The other side is that, and truly, for the people who have not changed their mindsets and they're still putting wine in an old wine bag, our office is in a bank building, and on the 1st and 15th of every month, there's a line out the door. And I can't figure out why.
Why are you there?
And it's primarily people that are the boomers,
Makes
older
sense.
people, or their children that have followed them to that bank twice a month that do that.
Right.
And so, but what would that mean if you change the amount of time you spent going back and forth to the bank? Does that reduce your expense? What does it mean if you were able to have that money electronically? Would it give you more access to the things you want to buy? Yes, but again, you don't, as that person, as the people of that profile, you don't fit the profile of the mainstream. You're still, whether or not you adapt those ways, it doesn't make a difference unless you are involved in dictating the policies that work for you within your affinity group.
I want to give the urban broadcast media family an Easter egg, right? I encourage each and every one of you to go Google the Community Reinvestment Act called CRA. If you don't know about it, that's where the wealth was stolen from the majority of America, right? Because previously, banks had to have, for every dollar of deposit, for every N number of deposit, had to have loans go out into the local community that they had a branch location. Except when technology came in and ATMs and digital transactions. Because the banks were able to then say, well, our transactions don't happen on the south side of Chicago, they happen in New Hampshire, right? Because that's where our servers are. And so what happened is for every $1,000 you deposit where they should have been investing or loaning out N number of dollars, they were able to get away with that.
And why were they able to do that? Because of their digital systems? Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to argue that it was because of the way that they lobbied the government, but that's just neither here nor there.
All right, 312-754-4333. If you want to call in, join in on this discussion, or even offer your comment. And don't forget to tune in and spread the word about urbanbroadcastmedia.com. We'll be right back.